Picture this. You're strapped into a roller coaster, the sun blazing down, wind whipping your face as laughter echoes around you. Pretty awesome, right? Your heart pounds as you plummet down that first drop, adrenaline surging through your veins. Pure joy. But suddenly, instead of gleeful screams, you hear cries of terror. Right before your eyes, a passenger flies out of their seat on a sharp turn, plummeting dozens of feet to the ground below. Think that's impossible? Well, what if I told you that amusement park history is filled with incidents far more terrifying than this? March 24th, 2022. 14-year-old Tyre Samson was living every teenager's dream, a fun trip to Icon Park in Orlando with his football team. The boys decided to ride the Orlando Freefall, the world's tallest freestanding drop tower at 430 feet high. What should have been an unforgettable day of thrills turned into an unthinkable nightmare. As the ride reached its peak and began its terrifying plunge, Tyre slipped from his seat and crashed to the ground. The 8th grader was killed instantly. According to the medical examiner's report, Samson's death was caused by operator error. The ride operator had deliberately loosened Tyre's safety harness, likely to accommodate passengers weighing over 285 pounds. The investigation revealed that Tyler's safety belt was nearly half as tight as it should have been, causing him to slip out during the fall. Following Samson's death, both the Orlando Freefall and the neighboring Orlando Slingshot were shut down indefinitely. The manufacturer announced they were permanently discontinuing this model, and Icon Park supported the decision. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump, representing Tyre's father, called the decision too little, too late. He stated, "Amusement parks, their owners, and regulatory agencies must do more to prevent such tragedies in the future." But sadly, this was far from the first such tragedy in America. July 9th, 2011, James Hackmer, an Iraq War veteran, died in a tragic incident on a roller coaster at Darien Lake Amusement Park in upstate New York. 3 years earlier, in March 2008, Hackmer had been serving in Iraq when his vehicle hit an improvised explosive device. The blast cost him both legs. When Hackmer wanted to ride the roller coaster at Darien Lake, staff couldn't properly secure his safety harness due to his missing limbs. Instead, they placed him in the front car, explaining he could hold on to the safety bar with his hands. Without a safety belt, traveling at 50 miles per hour on one of the ride's turns, he was thrown from his seat. Hackmer had come to the park with his children and sister, but thankfully, the kids weren't nearby when tragedy struck. His nephew, Ashton Lafredo, was with him. Ashton said park employees didn't object to the disabled veteran riding and didn't even ask any questions. He was determined to ride every roller coaster, his sister, Judy Keemer, told the Associated Press. In that moment on the ride, he was probably feeling like the happiest, most normal guy for those 3 years. The investigation revealed operator error was to blame, and the ride reopened that same year. But sometimes you don't even need to buy a ticket to face deadly consequences. You just need to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. In 2015, a teenager died on a roller coaster after climbing over fences into a restricted area. This horrific tragedy occurred at Six Flags Over Georgia. 17-year-old Isaiah Ferguson from Gainesville climbed over 2 6-foot-tall fences, ignoring danger warning signs. Most likely, the boy was trying to retrieve his hat that had blown off during the ride, though some witnesses claim he wanted to prank passengers by grabbing someone's leg as the car passed overhead. However, almost immediately after entering the restricted area, he suffered a fatal blow. A passenger's foot traveling at 50 miles per hour struck him directly in the head. The impact was so powerful it instantly decapitated him. Police ruled the boy's death an accidental tragedy. Out of respect for Ferguson's family, Six Flags closed the attraction the day of the incident, but it reopened the very next day to welcome Happy Park visitors. But this wasn't the first tragic incident in the Six Flags network. 2 years earlier, in 2013, Rosa Esparza died a horrific death while riding the Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas. Even before the ride began, the woman expressed concerns about her safety restraints when she got into the car. However, the operator assured her everything was securely fastened and the roller coaster began its fatal journey. On a sharp turn, Esparza's safety restraints came loose and she was launched into the air, flying 75 feet right in front of her terrified daughter. Her partially mangled body was found wrapped around metal support beams on the tunnel roof. Immediately after the incident, police launched an investigation, but just 2 months later, the attraction reopened after installing new safety belts and restraints. Esparza's family sued both Six Flags and Gerstlauer, the company that manufactured the ride. In response, Six Flags and Gerstlauer began legal battles with each other, each shifting blame for the tragedy. Eventually, both companies reached a confidential settlement with the victim's family. But tragedies don't only happen on expensive attractions. Sometimes even a simple safety net is enough. 12-year-old Tegan Marty saw the terminal velocity attraction on a TV show and became obsessed with recreating the so-called leap of faith, falling backward from great heights. The girl convinced her parents to travel to Extreme World Park in Wisconsin Dells. The family made the long journey all the way from Florida to fulfill Tegan's dream. The attraction's concept was simple. Participants were dropped from over 100 feet, roughly 9 stories high, straight into a net with no safety harnesses or protective gear. When Tegan was waiting in line at Extreme World, her mother, Julie Marty, suddenly recognized the ride operator. It was the same man who had bragged about terminal velocity's safety on the TV show. Despite there being no harnesses or shock-absorbing equipment, people simply fell from enormous heights straight into a net. In footage taken before the horrific tragedy, Tegan beams with a happy smile. Her turn came. Her father turned on the camera while her mother watched anxiously from below. Tegan climbed the platform towering 100 feet above the ground and jumped. Then something terrible happened. The girl fell straight onto concrete. The operator released her prematurely before the safety net was positioned beneath her. From the impact, Tegan broke her spine and pelvis, suffered severe traumatic brain injury, and numerous other serious injuries. The girl was immediately hospitalized and remained on life support in critical condition for an extended period. Doctors reported brain swelling, multiple spinal and pelvic fractures, plus tears to her liver, spleen, and intestines. They suspected Tegan might remain paralyzed forever. The girl, who had previously earned her way into the National Honor Society with high grades, could now only communicate by blinking, once for yes, twice for no. After 17 months, 14-year-old Tegan returned to Wisconsin to support a hospital expansion project at the facility that saved her life. She walked down the corridor on her own, supported only by a walker. The ride operator, 33-year-old Charles Carnell, was charged with first-degree reckless injury, causing great bodily harm, a crime carrying up to 25 years in prison and a $100,000 fine. Carnell admitted to investigators that he simply zoned out and didn't wait for the all-clear signal before releasing Tegan. But sometimes tragedies happen because attraction owners cut corners on visitor safety. On Christmas Eve, 1998, a massive metal cleat broke free from the hull of Disneyland's Columbia sailing ship attraction. Falling, it struck 2 visitors and 1 Disney employee. One victim, 33-year-old Luan Phi Dawson, suffered a fatal head injury and later died at the hospital. This was the first death at Disneyland not caused by visitor error. Dawson was diagnosed with 2 severe traumatic brain injuries and damage to a major blood vessel in his brain. His wife, Lou Vaughn, also suffered a head injury but survived. The woman underwent plastic surgery to repair deep cuts on the right side of her face. Disney employee Christine Carpenter suffered a serious leg injury but received necessary hospital treatment. Further investigation revealed that the rope meant to hold the metal cleat in place had been replaced with inappropriate material cord, simply to save money. Additionally, the ship had approached the dock too quickly, and the rope meant to slow the vessel's movement proved insufficiently strong. Responsibility for the tragedy was placed not on the ride operator, but on park management. The victim's family was awarded approximately $25 million. The Columbia attraction remains closed to this day. The incredible heights of roller coasters are their main feature, but that's exactly what makes them dangerous. On July 11, 2010, 21-year-old Lindsay Zeno visited Blue Bayou Water Park. She decided to ride the Extreme Coaster, a roller coaster that had been operating for 3 years. But just minutes after the ride started, the girl fell from a height of 30 feet. She died from her injuries. What exactly caused the tragedy remains unknown. There's speculation it happened due to a faulty safety belt. One witness reported seeing Lindsay trying to secure her restraints when the car entered a sharp turn, and at that moment, she was thrown into the air. Louisiana State Fire Marshal Butch Browning sent his staff to inspect the attraction. According to him, all mechanical parts were in place and showed no visible defects. Despite this, the attraction was permanently closed after the tragedy. August 11, 1996. A miniature train at Old Indiana Fun Park derailed and overturned, crushing 2 people under its weight. The victims were 4-year-old Emily Hunt, who was left paralyzed from the chest down, and her 57-year-old grandmother, Nancy Jones. This horrific disaster not only makes you shudder, but also causes outrage due to Old Indiana Fun Park management's flagrant negligence. They made literally every possible mistake. Investigation showed the train was traveling significantly faster than its calculated speed of 12 miles per hour. When the operator tried to hit the brakes, they simply didn't work. It's still unknown whether they were broken or completely absent. Most safety devices weren't installed, the speedometer was broken, and the tracks were littered with debris. Later, it became known that the inspector who had checked this attraction twice in the 3 months before the tragedy admitted he lacked proper qualifications for the job. Park records showed that in the previous 2 months, this mini-train had derailed 79 times. This wasn't Old Indiana's first problem. Earlier in 1996, the park was fined for 77 child labor law violations. Additionally, the Indianapolis Star published materials about animal cruelty, particularly involving a tiger. Old Indiana Park owners admitted negligence but denied information about the attraction's horrible condition before the accident. Shortly after the tragedy, they declared bankruptcy, and most park attractions were sold at auction the following year. The next roller coaster disaster became the deadliest in history. The expression of horror on a little girl's face seconds before death remained forever in Carolyn Adamchick's memory. The girl was one of the victims of the tragedy at Battersea Fun Fair in 1972. Carolyn was 14 when disaster struck. The Big Dipper ride in South London broke down during operation, killing 5 children. Carolyn was lucky to survive. Wooden roller coasters have a reputation as potential death traps. They wear out quickly and require constant maintenance. Any negligence, even minor, can lead to massive tragedy. When the train began climbing to the starting platform, the tow rope broke away from one of the cars and the mechanism failed. At that moment, 31 passengers were in cars high above the park. Carolyn saw the operator press the brakes, but they didn't work. Most cars couldn't make the turn. One derailed and crashed into a wooden barrier. Then the train sharply turned and crashed into another train waiting in the loading zone. Immediately after the accident, Carolyn and her friends were stuck 50 feet high in a car that miraculously remained intact. As a result of the tragedy, 5 children died and 13 others received serious injuries. The attraction was never repaired, and Battersea Fun Fair closed completely 2 years after the disaster. Every year, approximately 30,000 accidents occur in amusement parks, ranging from minor injuries to fatalities. Although entertainment industry representatives assure us that the probability of receiving serious injuries on roller coasters in an average U.S. park is 1 in 16 million, this risk cannot be ignored. Human error, faulty equipment, or the simple desire to save money on safety can lead to deadly consequences. This video was created for educational purposes only. We recommend viewers exercise caution. Thank you for watching. Share in the comments which stories you'd like to see on the channel. See you in the next video. If you liked my work and want to help support the channel, I would be very grateful.